Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to be breaking down Volume 4 of I Hate Fairyland. This one covers issues 16 through 20 of the original I Hate Fairyland series. Now this volume acts as a conclusion of the original series. It wrapped up in 2018. However, 4 years later in 2022, SKOTTIE Young started publishing I Hate Fairyland again, in a second iteration of the series that continued the story. But for the most part, this kind of acts as a conclusion in a way, and I am planning on stopping my I Hate Fairyland coverage here, although I may return to it in the future and cover the second iteration of the series. But for now though, let's see what the conclusion of the original I Hate Fairyland run was. Will Gertrude get out of hell? Will she escape Fairyland? Will she finally make it home? Let us see in Volume 4 of I Hate Fairyland. I Hate Fairyland, Volume 4, Sadly Never After, written and drawn by SKOTTIE Young, colors by Francois Beaulieu. Issue 16. Last volume we ended with Gert dying in Fairyland and being sent to hell, where she is confronted by Happy, whom she killed in Volume 1, and is now wearing an eye patch and looks evil. Happy, talking to Gertrude now, asks her, "Why do you have that look on your face? Your mortal enemy ruling hell doesn't enrage you, or maybe even impress you?" Gertrude replies, "Not even a little. This feels like some sort of cheap stunt to end a story with a clever cliffhanger, if you ask me. What do you have that's a little less obvious?" So it turns out that this Happy in front of her is not actually the girl that we know as Happy. It is instead the devil trying to torture Gertrude with some sort of face-morphing special effect. The devil then turns into Brood the Brutal. This does not impress Gertrude though. So then the devil turns into the Sluglord, and then Bart of the Blackness, then a pig, then the leader of the shiitake mushroom samurai, and then Maddie, Gertrude's superfan, and lastly Queen Claudia. But Gertrude is still not impressed. She says, "Seriously? You're the devil, or one of the devils, or whatever, and this is all you've got?" The devil is kind of amused that Gertrude was not fazed by his shape-shifting. He says,
"Ha ha ha, very well. I had my suspicions that you may feel that way. I like that about you, so unpredictable. Then again, so am I. You're free to go."
Gertrude asks, "What do you mean?" The devil replies,
"Just like that, you're free to go. Put one foot in front of the other and walk through the door. Simple as that."
Gertrude walks through this door in this strange all-black room. And when she exits the door on the other side, she is all of a sudden finally back home in her childhood bedroom. Gertrude is surprised. Is this really real? She explores her home, and she walks through the hallway and goes to the kitchen, and her mom and dad are there. She runs into their arms. "Mommy, Daddy, I can't believe it's really you." Gertrude's mom makes the family a huge breakfast, and Gertrude goes to town on the pancakes. Gertrude tries to tell her parents, "You guys, I've been gone for almost 40 years. I wanted to go to Fairyland, and then I got sucked into the floor, and then I was there, and I had to find a key, but it was too hard, and then..." Gertrude's parents are kind of ignoring Gertrude, kind of like you would the ramblings of a child telling a fantastical story. They don't believe her. Gertrude's mom and dad continue stuffing food into their faces. They stuff so much food into their faces, they all of a sudden become kind of grotesque monsters. It is starting to become apparent that Gertrude did not really make her way home. The devil is just messing with her. Gertrude, seeing her grotesque parents and the rude things they're saying to her, she yells out, "This isn't real! You're not real!" Gertrude begins running through the home as her parents chase after her. Gertrude runs back into her bedroom. Gertrude begins yelling out to the devil, "Hey devil, you think that's funny? Teasing me with the one thing that matters to me? I've been clawing my way back to this room for decades, but this isn't it, is it? This is something else." Gertrude then starts smashing up her bedroom, and eventually the devil returns and he says,
Very nicely done, Gertrude. It's not often I see that kind of fight down here. It's usually a lot of crying and screaming. No, please stop. I can't take you tormenting my soul for all eternity. And things like that. But not you. Why do you think that is?
Gertrude tells the devil, "Because you think you're something special in this piece of flip world filled with a bunch of muffin huggers who think they're special. But you're not. You're just like the rest of these sugary flops. I've beaten them and I'll beat you. And eventually I'll beat this horrible place you call Fairyland." The devil, he then laughs.
You know, I thought that bringing you back here and then pulling it away over and over and over would be your hell. But I was wrong, wasn't I? I mean, it's quite simple, really. I can't torture you by taking you away from the place you love. No. It has to be sending you back to the place you hate.
The devil then realizes that the greatest way he can torture Gertrude is just by sending her back to Fairyland and making her stay there. So that is what he does. He sends her back to Fairyland, and Gertrude comes crashing down just like she did in issue 1. Gertrude, realizing the devil sent her back here and is planning on keeping her here, screams, "No! No! No!" All while the devil enjoys his torture of Gertrude. I Hate Fairyland issue 17. Horabella, the witch, phones the devil in hell. It turns out last volume, Horabella was talking to the devil on the phone, making a deal for Gertrude. In exchange for Horabella arranging the death of Gertrude, the devil would give something to Horabella in return. So Horabella phones the devil, and when the devil hears it is her, he tells her,
This better be important, witch. I'm in the middle of some quality torment at the moment.
Horabella to this replies, "Don't get an attitude with me, oh holy dark one. You and me had a deal. I send you Gert, and you send me what I asked for. I held up my end of the bargain, now it's your turn." The devil replies,
Yes. I remember our deal. I just need to drop by the archive and pick it up.
The devil goes down to his archive there in hell, and he finds the box that Horabella has requested. The devil warns her, still on the phone with Horabella.
I don't think I have to tell you this, but things could go very badly for you for all of Fairyland if you don't know what you're getting yourself into.
Horabella doesn't want a warning, she just wants her box. Elsewhere in the Fairyland town square, we see the Fairyland Postal Service building, with all the various employees getting ready to ship many packages for the day. The worker there named Hank is training a newbie. And it turns out that new Fairyland Postal Service employee is a familiar face. It is Duncan Dragon. Hank gives Duncan a tour of their offices and how everything works. Eventually, Hank leads Duncan to the customer service area, where customers bring in packages that they want shipped. While they are there, an employee walks over to Hank and says that a customer wants to speak to him, the manager, about a special delivery. Hank invites the customer over. It turns out that customer is the devil, wanting to ship that package that Horabella has requested. The devil, talking to Hank, says,
I need to ship this box, and I'd like it there by the morning.
Hank tells the devil, I'm afraid all of our air couriers are en route already. Would the day after tomorrow be okay? The devil, looking at Duncan, says,
What about him? Are those wings decorative or can you fly?
Duncan explains, yeah, he can fly. The manager is a little nervous about giving such an important task to a newbie. He explains to the devil, I'm sorry, sir, but Duncan here is brand new, first day on the job. We don't usually... The devil then blows fire in Hank's face. And Hank, he decides to change his tune. He says, "Oh, like I was saying, double check that address is correct and I'll have Duncan take it off right away." The devil thanks them and Duncan heads off with that package. Duncan, he begins flying. He journeys with the package through many of the deepest areas of Fairyland. And eventually, he arrives at Horabella's haunted mansion. When he arrives at Horabella's mansion, she calls him inside and makes him bring the package down to the basement for her. Horabella is stirring some things in her cauldron, and when Duncan brings her the package, she opens it, and she pours its contents into her cauldron. The contents of the package appear to be the skeletal remains of some sort of body. Duncan asks Horabella, "What are you making?" Horabella responds, "I don't want to spoil the surprise, so let's just say it's something this place is in desperate need of." Duncan wonders, Fairyland has everything. What could it possibly need? Horabella begins mixing things in this cauldron. It begins glowing green. Horabella answers Duncan's question and says, "Yes, Fairyland has everything one's mind can imagine and even more that it cannot. All of the magic and wonder one could want. Still, search as far and as long as you're able, and you'll discover there is one thing missing. What everything needs. An end." The skeletal remains that Horabella mixed in this cauldron then comes to life. Duncan comments how this skeleton person seems a little skinny. They're gonna need some burgers before any kind of end is in sight. Horabella tells the skeleton, "Don't listen to him, you look fantastic. He's not completely wrong though, we do need to breathe a little life into you." The skeleton, now wearing a robe, says ominously, "Life." And then it seems to somehow drain the life force out of Horabella. Duncan, scared, he begins flying away. He's saying, "I quit, I quit, I quit." With Horabella's life force drained, she is now just an empty husk of herself. Her body has been dried away into death, and the skeleton in the robe begins walking on. The skeleton says, "I hate Fairyland." I Hate Fairyland, issue 18. The residents of Fairyland in their main square are just going about their life, having a good time. But then, all of a sudden, some dark clouds start moving in from the hills. The clouds are raining red lightning down from the sky. The residents in this town start running with fear. Destruction comes over the town. Buildings are destroyed. All of a sudden, it is revealed who is behind this destruction. This is the same person Horabella brought back to life. It is Queen Claudia, or how she is known now, Dark Claudia. Dark Claudia says ominously, "Fairyland, Fairyland, oh sweet Fairyland, I have missed you so." Ha 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 ha! Don't be afraid, Fairylanders, I have returned to bring an end to this ridiculous place and every living thing in it. Duncan Dragon, witnessing the return of this Dark Claudia, begins flying off. He says to himself, "Only one person can stop her, and there's only one person who can help me get that one person." Two mice watching this wonder, "Why was that kid talking to himself?" The other mouse replies, "Our old queen has returned in an evil cloud of death with her sights set on destroying the whole world, and you're worried about this kid expositioning?" The first mouse responds, "Geez, what's gotten into you today?" Duncan, he is searching high and low and talking to various citizens of Fairyland. He needs to get Gertrude back as she is the only one that can stop Dark Claudia. But in order to find Gertrude, he must first find Larry. So Duncan is going around asking everyone if they know where he is. Eventually he gets his first lead from a broccoli-looking lady. She points to a map and says that she thinks Larry lives somewhere in the Mopey Meadows, out past the stumps. If you look around there, You should find him. Duncan flies on and finds the home where Larry is living. Larry is in the middle of trying to write his memoirs. He's also drinking heavily. Larry eventually lets Duncan inside his home. Duncan tells Larry that they need to bring Gertrude back. But Larry explains to Duncan, she's dead, Dunk. Dead and probably laughing at us from her boiling hot tub in one of the hells. Duncan replies, well, Queen Claudia was dead, and she's back now and more determined than ever to erase this whole world and everyone in it. If Claudia's back from the dead, then the only person who can stop her can come back too. Larry, thinking for a minute, he eventually answers, dang, Dunk, that's pretty sound logic. I can't argue with any of it. I'm in, but to do this, we're gonna have to break some big rules, so we need to go see some people who can help with that. Larry and Duncan travel a few days, and eventually they arrive at the talking tree named Bark, who houses the Council of Elders. Larry wants to get inside to talk to the elders, but Bark will not let him in until he says the password, which, from reading Volume 1, I believe the password was the word pizza. Larry explains he does not know the password, but he is here to save Fairyland, and he can't save Fairyland without speaking to the Council. Bark stubbornly does not allow Larry inside. He tells Larry, my roots reach deeper than time, so your worry of the end is of no concern to me. Larry threatens, I mean, you are made of wood, right? I wonder what would happen if, let's say, a little dragon here were to get a little breathy around you. Would that mess with your attitude on the whole end of times situation? The tree, not wanting to be lit afire by Duncan Dragon, allows Larry and Duncan inside. Inside, Larry and Duncan speak to the Council of Elders. The Council of Elders tell Larry, the rise of Dark Claudia is known to the Council, Laragon. Why would you travel all this way to warn us of something you knew we would already be aware of? Larry replies, we didn't come here to warn you. We came here to get Gertrude back, so she can save us all. The council finds this hysterical, and they begin laughing very heavily. Larry, growing frustrated, says, you think this is funny? What exactly are you old dusty fluffs doing to stop her? Seems like you're hiding in the same dank tree you're always hiding in when trouble starts up. You're the most powerful group of beings in all the lands. And a fly and boy in pajamas are the only ones trying to stop the end of the world from happening? Larry and Duncan continue arguing with the Council of Elders. The elders are making their arguments about why they must do nothing. They say that they have rules here in Fairyland that keep it from ruin. Breaking them would lead to ruin. Another one says Gertrude is in hell, and she must stay there until the end of time. That may mean an eternity from now, or it may mean tomorrow. Either way, the rules are what they are. Duncan, he grows really frustrated. He calls them all horrible people that take kids from their homes, families, and friends and pretend it's some sort of gift to them when it's really their own sick little game. Well, it's not a game, it's our lives. You have your rules, but we didn't get the chance to decide if we wanted to live by them. You made the rules, and now we're going to die by them unless you let us help ourselves. Gertrude was the only person that could stop Claudia. She can do it again if you bring her back. The Council of Elders are still rejecting Duncan and Larry's idea, but one of the elders, a very old-looking turtle man, he thinks they are right. He says, the boy is right. We have our rules, and look where it's gotten us. Claudia is a direct result of those rules, and now she's brought Fairyland to the edge of total annihilation. The old man wizard argues with the turtle. I object to this. You cannot. The turtle cuts the wizard off and says, oh, shut up, Joe. None of us are very fond of dying, and 5 minutes before these two showed up, you brought up using Gertrude as well. So, unless any of you want to get out there and throw down with Dark Claudia yourselves, I suggest we get on with this. The turtle then phones the devil and makes the devil agree to return Gertrude to the land of the living in the real Fairyland, and the devil complied with their request. I Hate Fairyland, issue 19. Gertrude is still at this moment trapped in her own personal hell, and her own personal hell is sort of a pocket dimension of fairyland that never ends, that she can never leave, that she is stuck in. Within this pocket hell dimension of fairyland, Gertrude continues going on adventures with this fake version of Larry, and it eventually leads them to a bar. And in that bar, Gertrude is then met by the real version of Larry and Duncan that have come to save her and bring her back out of this hell dimension and to the real fairyland. The real Larry and Duncan explain how Claudia is back from the dead and she is now this dark Claudia person, and the only way they can bring Gertrude back is if she agrees to battle Claudia again. Gertrude, listening to this explanation, says, "Wow, the evil version of Claudia is called Dark Claudia? Didn't work on that name too long, did they?" Well, Gertrude, thinking on it, eventually agrees. Alright, let's do it. Gertrude, Larry, and Duncan then get sucked out of this hell dimension world and brought back to the Council of Elders in the real fairyland. The Council of Elders tell Gertrude, "Welcome back, Gertrude. We're glad you agreed to help save us." Gertrude, angry once she sees the council, says, "Oh no! I agreed to help Duncan and Larry, not you muffin huggers. You are all the reason for all the terrible things in my life. You brought me here, made it impossible to leave, let that Queen Claudia bring that walking smiley face happy here to make sure I never got to leave. You forced me to kill Claudia and become queen myself, which put a nail in the coffin of my old life, and now you want me to..." One of the elders on the council tells Gertrude, "Defeat Claudia once again, and this time you will save all of Fairyland by doing so." Gertrude asks, "And why do you think I care if this place survives or not? You do know my feelings on your precious little nightmare, right?" The council tells Gertrude, "If you complete this task, then we will send you home." Gertrude says, "I've fallen for that before from your resident devil. No thanks. You can go ahead and send me back to hell." The wizard on the council tells Gertrude, "This is not a trick. We shall prove it to you. Last time you used the power of Lord Darketh Deadeth, and things went wrong for us all." The various members of the council then seem to be removing a piece of their heart from their body in some sort of form of light. It starts freaking Gertrude out. She comments, "What in the spell are you crazy muffs doing?" The wizard continues, "The ancient fairyland text says that once the hearts of the council are combined, they wield a power beyond all understanding, but only if gifted to a guest to be used in the direst of times. It seems that the times are indeed most dire, and you are the guest we choose. The first time you defeated Claudia with darkness, but this time it will take the light." Gertrude, kind of realizing what is happening, says, "Oh no, 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 no!" But the light seems to engulf Gertrude and bestows her with fantastical light powers, which she will then use in an epic confrontation to defeat Dark Claudia. Issue 20. This is the final issue of the first run of I Hate Fairyland. This issue was published in July 2018. For the longest time, this was the conclusion of I Hate Fairyland. However, 4 years later, in November of 2022, SKOTTIE Young started publishing a revival series of I Hate Fairyland that continued the story of Gertrude. That series is still currently ongoing as of today. For now, though, let's dive into the final issue, issue 20, of the first series of I Hate Fairyland. Dark Claudia is raining down her dark clouds and red lightning on various troops of Fairyland. The Fairyland army, thinking it hopeless, are running in fear away from her. Dark Claudia goes over to the king of Fairyland, King Cone. Claudia tells him, "I loved Fairyland more than life itself, and I would have done anything to protect it. And when she came, I went above and beyond to do just that. It would have worked if that menace hadn't shown up at the last minute with... Claudia then gets cut off with Gertrude's arrival. Gertrude says, showed up with tons of muffin-hugging power? Yeah, sorry, but it's totally happening again, like right now. Claudia tosses the king aside and she says, no, this can't be happening. It won't be happening again. Claudia fires at Gertrude with some sort of red lightning energy, but Gertrude, with her new light powers given to her by the Council of Elders, is able to block Claudia's attack, redirecting Claudia's energy elsewhere. Claudia then flies up into the sky and turns into a ginormous cloud with a menacing red eyes and mouth. Claudia tells Gertrude, nothing here will survive me. My storm will devour all that is and ever will be. Not even memories of this world will remain in the spoiled minds of the undeserving humans that we allowed to come here. And it's because of you. Gertrude to this responds, sure, I'll take the blame for making you all go big and bad, but this is a mess I'll happily clean up. Spoiler, this is gonna hurt like a muffin fluffer. Gertrude fires a massive burst of light energy at Dark Claudia's massive cloud form. Claudia falls out of the dark cloud and lands on the ground. Claudia seems almost hopeless. Gertrude goes over to her and tells her, Claudia, I know I made your life hell. I know a little bit about that place now, so believe me when I say this. I'm sorry. Claudia responds, you can take your apology with you to your grave. Dark Claudia tries to use her energy again on Gertrude, but it's not working. Gertrude has somehow negated Claudia's powers. Claudia is wondering what is happening to her. Well, it's no matter. She says she doesn't need her powers to kill Gertrude. Her hate will do that. Claudia punches Gertrude in the face. Gertrude, she wipes the blood from her mouth, and then she replies, it's my turn. Gertrude feeds Claudia some punches. Claudia's face is now all bruised and bloody and her teeth are broken. Claudia tells Gertrude, do it! Finish your story and have your happily ever after. Claudia's begging Gertrude to kill her. Gertrude says, fine, have it your way. Gertrude is gonna feed Claudia the final punches that will finish her off. But Larry stops Gertrude and tells her, you don't have to kill anyone, you understand that, right? Gertrude, confused, responds, if I want the council to send me home, I do. I have to defeat Claudia. Larry says, yes, they said defeat, not kill. She looks pretty defeated to me, and trust me, I've been looking at this mug in the mirror all my life. I recognize defeat when I see it. Claudia begs for death. She says, no, you have to kill me. Do it. Don't listen to him. He's a fluffin' fly. Gertrude responds to Claudia, no, he's Laragon Wentworth III, and he's my guide. I've spent almost 40 years not listening to him. It's time I give listening a shot. Gertrude leaves Claudia alive, and she tells the king, she's all yours, King Cone. Y'all enjoy each other. I'm out. King Cone orders Claudia to be put in the deepest dungeon and to summon the Mystic Supreme, for we will need the strongest containment magic we can muster. Gertrude then walks over to the Council of Elders and she asks them to send her home. The Council of Elders at first say no, they will do no such thing. Queen Claudia still lives. Thus, Gertrude has not completed her end of the bargain. Gertrude grows angry though. She says, Larry was right. You said I needed to defeat her, which I did. Now pony up, you goofy fluffs. One of the Council of Elders says, we meant we wanted her brought down. Stopped. Gertrude interrupts and says, killed, yes. I know what you meant. I've spent decades here getting my sass handed to me because I would ignore how literal this place could be. You set up the rules and worded them so perfectly that any interpretation could be the wrong one. And now we're here playing your fluffed up little game even longer. I'm sure that if I had killed her, you'd have a different reason to prevent me from going home. Because that's what you do. You get some twisted enjoyment out of manipulating everyone and everything. You're nothing but a bunch of sick control freaks. Well, fluff that and fluff you. You can't control everything all the time, and you should have learned a long time ago. You can't control me. Gertrude then flips the middle finger to them and says, "Now, send me home." The Council of Elders still refuse. They tell Gertrude, "Not only will we not be sending you home, but after we take back the hearts of Fairyland we gave you, you will be banished to the swamp of eternity as its new caretaker. You'll be cursed in ways we will not share with you, now as to not ruin the surprise of your suffering." Gertrude responds, "If I've learned anything from my pal Larry here, it's when in doubt, refer to the rules of Fairyland Handbook." Larry, listening, says, "I don't think I've ever said that, not once." Gertrude continues, "For Muff's sake, don't step on my sass moment here, and just pull the rock-sucking book out and read the amendment that refers to the hearts of Fairyland." Larry, he pulls out the rulebook and he reads. He tells the group, it says here, "If the council finds reason to gift a guest the hearts of Fairyland, they will be the keeper of the hearts and the power they possess until said guest chooses to return the hearts of Fairyland to the council. Present this gift with caution, and only to the most worthy of recipients, as it will surely backfire on you if you do not." With that rule now read, Gertrude thanks Larry. Larry says no problem, but Gertrude continues, "No, Larry, thank you for everything." Larry actually tears up out of happiness over Gertrude's legitimate expression of appreciation towards him. Gertrude then turns to the council. She starts building up an energy blast in her hands. She tells the council, "I'm afraid I won't be giving back the hearts of Fairyland anytime soon, if you're still into your twisted version of the deal. However, just to show you that my choice to keep Clowny alive hasn't made me soft, I will be using the hearts to end you muffin huggers for good." The council, not wanting to die, realize that Gertrude has won. The wizard guy replies to Gertrude, "Nope, we're good. You're good. Everything is good. Deal done. It was great having you here. Bye now." The Council of Elders are going to grant Gertrude her wish and send her home. Gertrude says, "Finally!" The wizard snaps his fingers, and Gertrude poofs away and is sent back to the real world. Larry is a little bit sad at how quickly Gertrude was gone. He says, Wait! Gert, no please, not yet! Gert! You're welcome. I meant to tell you you're welcome, Gert. You were a real piece of flip, but you were my piece of flip. I hate myself for saying this, but I'll miss you. I hope home is everything you've dreamed of." And now, we get to see Gertrude's life back home now in the real world. Gertrude is now finally an adult woman, and she is working a boring, typical corporate office job as a low-level employee there. We see Gertrude sleeping at her desk, drooling over a pile of papers while her boss says, "Gertrude, Gertrude!" Gertrude wakes up. Her boss gives her some orders. He says, "Mr. Key called down and wants to see you. Said you were supposed to have the sales reports up to him before lunch." Adult Gertrude, annoyed, says, "Here they are. Why can't you just take them up? You go up there every 20 minutes to get your nose all browned up inside his..." Gertrude's boss shuts her down and says, "Gertrude, you know that I am an assistant supervisor. Delivering sales reports is at least one pay grade below me. I could never stoop that low. Now, if you ever want to go home, I suggest you find your way up to Mr. Key's office right now." Her boss then walks on, and Gertrude in her cubicle mumbles, Yeah, I've got them done. I'll take them up to Mr. Key in a minute. Key. What is it always about keys? If I could just..." You see, Gertrude has been searching on her computer. She's been searching on Gurgle, which is like Google, for myths and legends of fairyland and how one can get there. Although there are 0 results on the internet about this. Gertrude continues mumbling to herself, "Yeah, you know what? Fuck Fairyland." Now that Gertrude is no longer in Fairyland, her swear comes through as clean as day. Gertrude begrudgingly begins to bring those papers up to this Mr. Key. And with this, we end Volume 4 and the first series of I Hate Fairyland. Alright, so that was I Hate Fairyland Volume 4, the conclusion of the first series of I Hate Fairyland. Let me tell you my thoughts on this one. Before I dive into my thoughts, I want to mention something that happens in the second iteration of I Hate Fairyland, in the first issue. SKOTTIE Young is kind of doing some meta-commentary on how the first series ended this series. So, in the second iteration of I Hate Fairyland, there's a scene where a little mouse father is talking to his mouse children, and he is explaining the story of Gertrude. And at one point, this happens. The mouse child says to his father, "Yes, Papa, I love this part. Tell me how Gertrude defeated the terrible Dark Claudia?" And the father explains to his son, "Well, as you know, that part of the story got a little bit convoluted and a little bit rushed." But basically, blah, blah, blah. So SKOTTIE Young even himself admits that the ending of this first series of I Hate Fairyland was a little bit convoluted and a little bit rushed. And that is very true, I must say. Despite that, though, I still enjoyed it, okay? So Gertrude is in hell. She's facing Happy, although it's not actually Happy, it's the devil, and the devil is mocking Gertrude and sends her to a never-ending fairyland, and that is her version of hell. And that was quite interesting. Claudia comes back in a very kind of convoluted way to set up a big epic confrontation for Gertrude to fight her once again. Gertrude gets sucked out of hell, she gets given powers by the Council of Elders, and she faces Dark Claudia in an epic confrontation, which was kinda cool. And then Gertrude gets sent home back to the real world. And we finally get some answers. What would Gertrude's life be like if she made it back home? And we see now that she is an adult, and she is living a boring existence as a corporate drone in this world, not very happy. Which is kind of maybe a downer ending to end on, but I don't know, I think it's kind of interesting. And I really like how she says "fuck Fairyland" and it is uncensored at the end, signifying she's in the real world, although she's still kind of her old self, too. So I'm a little bit mixed on this volume. Like I said, it's a little bit convoluted, but still, it is kind of fun. It does give us a little bit of closure, and it is kind of an interesting way to end this series on, so I enjoyed it. I'm going to give this one a 7.5 out of 10. Thank you all for watching. Let me know your thoughts on the conclusion, and I will be back next week with a new book.